I would encourage, if you have questions, you're welcome to come off mute and interrupt me. You can raise your hand, you can drop something in the chat, and Erin will be my catch-all. So.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So I just want to let you know what we're going to cover. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Marquee 360 in case you haven't partnered with us before. And then I'm going to talk about Microsoft Teams Chat. And I'm kind of assuming that at this point, that's pretty much how you're using the tool. You haven't really gone beyond chat. And that's actually going to lead us into a brief conversation about the difference between a couple of tool sets you have access to: OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. And then once you kind of understand that or are a bit oriented, then we're going to get into the Teams workspace itself, which is we organize ourselves into teams. We can further organize that into channels, and then we can basically put at our fingertips whatever resources we need. So I'm going to be talking a lot at first, but then we're going to get to a point where I'll actually demonstrate Teams. Sometimes it's tricky because we are in Teams, but I'll pull Teams up as if I'm someone getting ready to manage a small team-based project, just to highlight some of the things that I've mentioned. All right. Okay, so first, a little bit about Marquee 360 if you are not familiar with us. The organization was founded by a team of industry veterans, so embedded in technology, strong alliance with Microsoft. One of our managing partners actually was part of the Microsoft project team. So they came together and started Marquee 360 with a vision to create solutions that are designed to enhance operations, boost efficiency, and drive growth. And we do that by helping customers, such as you, innovate, automate, build efficiencies by adopting and extending the use of the Microsoft 365 Empower platform. Because you have it, you might as well do all that you can with it. So where we focus, I already mentioned innovation, right? So we're working to extend the power of that work management platform. As I mentioned, we have strong alliances with the Microsoft product teams, and anytime we build something new on top of that platform, we're using the Microsoft Power Platform. We obviously are focused on your success. So we do strive to serve as a trusted advisor. We have a consultative approach to helping you design and select, which way you should go about doing something. In this case, it'll probably come to a decision. Should I be using Teams? Should I be using SharePoint? There's no wrong answer. And then once we've got a new solution or an approach figured out, we want to make sure that the rest of your organization's on board. So we help with implementation, training, and then we provide that support. I already mentioned the training aspect, but then we also have options where you can be connected with a dedicated support team, get hypercare support, and also have us facilitate ongoing workshops to keep everyone up to speed on this technology that is changing all of the time. So with that, let's talk about Teams. So I want to take a look at a timeline real quick. This was kind of surprising to me. You will see that Teams, it was announced as the Office 365 chat-based workspace in late 2016. And for many organizations, what was going on at that time was Skype for Business was being phased out. So if an organization was using Skype for Business for instant messaging, maybe sharing files as part of that, and facilitating web conferences, when Teams came about, they just started doing the same thing. Oh, we're going to chat and we're going to have some meetings. kind of in this whole like communication collaboration suite, just wanted to point some things out. So obviously, if you're a Microsoft shop, you're using Outlook for your email. It's been around since 1997. So with that, how do we converse? We email. How do we meet? We put time on our calendars and set that aside. It also has some task management capabilities. And obviously, we're sharing, right? We're sharing files as email attachments. SharePoint came about in 2001. And when it did, it was first only basically, it was a file management solution or a content management solution. But there was also the ability you could manage lists. They had issue lists, they had task lists, and then the idea that we could actually start automating some processes with workflow. But again, we're talking about Teams, and likely the way you've gravitated towards Teams is because of the chat feature. Why do we love to chat? My mother-in-law mentioned yesterday that my daughter texted her, "Thank you for Valentine's." And I was like, obviously, she wasn't in the mood for a long, drawn out conversation with Grammy, right? And that's why we like chatting. It's concise. We get to stay on point. We don't get necessarily dragged into a longer conversation. It's quick, right? Rather than drafting an email, sending it, and wondering where we are in the inbox. As long as that light says that person's available, hey, you know what? I'm going to quickly ask them a question so I can keep moving forward with whatever I'm working on. So I'm going to actually try to launch a poll. Hold on one second. All right. And what I'm going to ask you in a moment is, do you chat with more than one person through Teams on a regular basis? And when you're having those conversations, are you doing a lot of file sharing? Are you attaching files to your chat window? So I'm going to launch this. And again, you have two questions. Is everyone seeing the poll? I've got 15 people with me. I've got 6 responses. 7 responses. Erin, are you seeing the results as far as right now we're at 86 are frequently chatting with multiple individuals? I don't
Yes.
know. Yes, good. Okay. All right.
Oh, we just hit 50-50.
Okay, so right now I'm seeing of the 10 of you that responded that yes, you are participating in group chats fairly regularly. Not so much sharing files as part of that. Oh, you're not able to vote, but yes. Okay, thank you, Angela. So that's actually, I'm glad to hear that, because if you were sharing files as part of your one-on-one or maybe, group chats where it's 3 people, or even in the case if I was chatting with Erin and I'm uploading files, to stop, right? Because if you're routinely chatting with a group, you probably would benefit from having a more structured collaborative space. And when I'm having a conversation with Erin and I'm taking something off of my desktop or some other maybe if we're still using a network file share, which we're not here, but if I were to attach that to my chat, it puts it in my OneDrive. And maybe you're like, okay, well, what does that matter? What that the files are being saved to OneDrive? And that's what's going to bring us to, I just wanted to kind of educate you on what the different kind of storage options are when it comes to your Microsoft 365 subscription. So the best practice is, so in the cloud, there's a little space carved out for you referred to as My Files in OneDrive. And that is meant for files that are of no collective significance. So an example would be, I might have an annual review with my manager. And heading into that, I'd like to have some notes as far as things I felt I accomplished, some goals I'm setting for myself, and maybe things that I struggled with. That's not relevant really to anyone else. So that's a good file to keep in my OneDrive until I meet with my manager. And maybe at that point, I'll share it with her because still, it's not of any broader collective significance. OneDrive has evolved. So you heard me say My Files in OneDrive because now there's also the OneDrive app. And it is fantastic because now that you have files in OneDrive and people are sharing files with you, and you might have SharePoint and you might be using Teams, where the heck is that PowerPoint that Charlene, showed us the other day? So the OneDrive app is like a portal that helps you navigate all of that and figure out, it doesn't matter where the file is because the OneDrive app will help you locate it. Then there's SharePoint, which it came on the scene before Teams. So a lot of companies used SharePoint in one of two ways. We have two types of sites we can create with SharePoint. One is called a communication site, and a lot of companies use that for their intranet, right? We're broadcasting information. The updates are managed by probably just a few people, maybe someone in marketing, maybe a couple of people in HR, maybe the head of IT is posting, updates, but the whole company is going to that site to learn what's going on. The other option, sadly, is called a SharePoint team site, not to be confused with Teams. Those team sites, it's assumed that all the members of that site, everyone that's allowed to go to that site, is managing the content. So for example, you might have a marketing department site, and the marketing people, staff, are the members of that site. And they're in there creating the PowerPoints. They're in there creating battle cards. They're in there collecting the different logos for the different use cases. Now, a team in Microsoft Teams, it's a workspace. So instead of having a SharePoint set, that marketing department could have a marketing team. And what do I mean when I say workspace? Let's go back to that timeline slide to see how they differ. So again, with SharePoint, we're sharing files. There might be some workflows tied to those files. We might be managing lists of information. We can do these things in Teams, but what we don't have in SharePoint is the ability to converse, to @mention someone to make them aware, like, hey, @mention Aaron, can you make sure that you push out this particular marketing campaign 2 weeks like we discussed? We also then have the ability right in that interface to calendar meetings to meet now. So when you have something where you are regularly communicating and collaborating, that's when Teams should be something to consider. Any questions at the moment? Okay. So here's how we see a lot of companies using both of these. So I mentioned SharePoint is a great platform for an intranet. So you might have a organization-based site, and there you're going to see words from leadership. Maybe they're highlighting employee anniversaries. Maybe we're posting quarterly meeting transcripts or videos. Probably from that site, we can get to an HR site where we can access our benefits. We can learn about company policies and procedures. Maybe we have a site where sales is publishing for everyone's reference, product guides, sales presentations, and price sheets. But then over in Teams, we may have the product development team, and they're getting and sharing product feedback. We can actually, like, if we got an email about some feedback about a product, we can actually share that to the team, and it becomes a post, and the email itself gets saved as a file. We could easily basically bookmark a link to those product guides, because for the product development team, they should have easy access to that. Maybe we have reports and dashboards we look at. We can easily access that from the context of Teams. And you'll see, I know I'm talking a lot, like I said, at the end, I'll kind of walk you through the interface if you're not familiar with it. We can easily access a notebook, a OneNote notebook, and maybe the product development team meets on a weekly basis and they capture their meeting minutes in that. So let's go ahead and start to explore that Microsoft Teams workspace. So you are all in Teams, I believe. And along the left-hand side of the Teams app is what's called the app nav bar. And this gives you access to kind of all of that general high-level functionality. The top, as long as you haven't reorganized things, but on the left, on that nav bar, you're going to see something specific to activity. And that's great, because if you ever come in here and it's a darker color and you're like, what's been going on? It will show you, if someone mentioned you. It will show you if someone canceled a meeting. So this is a really great place to see like what's going on across your whole Teams ecosystem. We have that chat, which again, we want to use for kind of that one-to-one, maybe small occasional group chat, just to have a conversation it's not really related to any specific organized initiative. We then also have access to the calendar. If we go into our calendar, we can quickly spin up a meeting, like a Meet Now. We can quickly hop on a video or a voice call. And what's nice about the calendar is it is integrated with your Outlook calendar. So anything that you went and added to your Outlook calendar, you're going to see it here. And anything you add to the calendar in Teams, you'll see it in Outlook. Those are kind of, in my world, the two apps that I kind of toggle between the most. So it's nice that those are kept in sync. And then you have the ability to add any other apps you use on a regular basis. And I'll show you how you do this, but the ones that I would recommend you add to your nav bar is first of all, that OneDrive app, because if you're losing your mind, that's a really nice one to be able to quickly access and see, oh, what was I recently working on? What did Aaron share with me? Another one in our world that we love to add is Planner. If you're in an organization where they are creating projects and assigning tasks using Planner, Planner will let you see your individual tasks, and it'll help you manage your workload. I'm someone that flags emails a lot to remind myself that's something I have to do. When I go into Planner, those get listed for me as tasks, and I can even prioritize them for my workday. So that's another app that I have pinned to Teams, because again, I'm either in Teams or in Outlook. And when I'm in Teams, I want quick access to my OneDrive, to my Planner, and maybe Power BI. If you're an individual that runs a lot of reports, visits a lot of dashboards, having easy access to it from that workspace is a nice thing to have, in my opinion. And then I'm going to call out search. So at the top of your Teams interface, you have a search bar. And I'm going to demonstrate this later, but again, it's searching everything in the context of your Teams environment. So it can help you find messages, it can help you find files, pretty much anything that you're doing in the context of this Teams interface. But what we're here to talk about is working as a team in the context of Teams. So you'll see when I go to create a team, there are two types we can create. One is a public team. It's open to anyone in your company. Someone comes, they say, I'd like to join a team, and your public team would be in their list of what's available. It's really good for an area where there's broad topics. Maybe you would have a team about volunteering, right? And you're posting events that the company is going to go participate in this food drive. The company is going to do this, and so we're pushing out announcements of what's coming up. Maybe we have a calendar of events. Maybe we have files about what being a volunteer for this initiative is going to require for you. That's a general idea. The other type of team we can create is a private team. And the person that's defining the team, they will invite members. And only those who are invited can see that team. So that's good for sensitive project work, specific departments, any group where access should be restricted. So here, just high level, here are some concepts, right? So we could have a public HR team where they're posting announcements, they're sharing benefits information. So SharePoint, Teams, that's really like, it's kind of like what would the company culture support best. Training and development would make a really good public team site because they could announce upcoming workshops. They could host learning webinars, and they could also put in the team files all the different training resources, right? Quick reference guides, courseware, and what have you. Another public team concept, a help desk. Now, granted, like someone in IT should probably be keeping an eye on it, but here they can announce when systems are going to be down. Again, they can share resources. How do I reset my password? How do I request a new laptop? So those are good ideas when it comes to public teams. Here are a couple ideas when it comes to private teams. Maybe a marketing department has a private team that they're going to use to plan and execute marketing campaigns, create content, do some market research. Sales, maybe they are working on product updates, evaluating customer feedback, just sharing resources amongst themselves. And work management, like project management, maybe I have a team and that's where we're gathering requirements and we're capturing our meeting minutes. And we're also monitoring and managing change requests as documents. So some other private team concepts. Any questions about the difference between private teams and public teams and good uses for those? Okay. So just as in on a server, you would have maybe had a folder and then subfolders. Or maybe when you think about having a SharePoint site with subsites. Teams can also be further broken down into what are called channels. By default, every team has a default channel. It used to be called the general channel. Now you can call it whatever you want, although whenever I try and label it general, I usually get something kicked back. So have to maybe get creative about that, but you will get one channel by default, and by default, it's a standard channel, meaning that anyone that's a member of the team can access anything in that channel. So that's really good for general discussions, overall collaboration with the team. Again, just ways to keep that particular group informed. Then we could have what's called a private channel. Whether you have a public team or a private team, that private channel further limits who can see what. So it's only accessible to the designated individual. So let's talk about that marketing team. Maybe we had a general channel, but marketing managers need their own little area limited to them. So maybe we spin up a marketing manager private channel. Then this last one, I personally have not seen, I haven't seen it in use. It's called the shared channel, and it's like breaking a hole in the wall. So what that means is, and I'll pick on marketing again, because I think it's something that usually people can wrap their heads around. Let's say the marketing department has their team that's limited to marketing staff, and they're working on all that they work on, right? Infographics, PowerPoints, logos, all that good stuff. But when they get to, okay, this is final, this is what we want the company to use, they could move it to a shared channel in their marketing team. It's very easy to move files. And that shared channel could be opened up to the whole company. They're not a member of the team. They're not going to see what marketing's been working on. They're just going to be able to get to that now kind of public area and get what they need. You'll see I have a note here that can actually, that hole in the wall can be opened to individuals in the organization or outside the organization. That's a little misleading in that we can actually have individuals outside of our organization as a member of any of these teams, depending on how your IT has things configured. But you can use Teams to collaborate with, like in the case of marketing, they work with external vendors all the time. So maybe, they want to add those external vendors as members of their team, depending on the working relationship. So here's just kind of a visual of what I was saying, right? So this marketing department, they have that default general channel where they're just, talking amongst themselves, making sure everyone knows what's going on. But then to keep things a little less cluttered, they're going to break things out into a channel for campaign planning. They're going to break out a channel for content creation. And then we have this other one about budgets, and that's a private channel. And we're only letting the marketing managers go in there and play with those spreadsheets and whatnot. Okay. So when we are now organized as a team, the whole point is so that we can do our work in a single space in kind of a collaborative way. So the resources that are available to us are, instead of chats, they're called posts. So when you go to you'll see when we go to a team, the first tab is posts, and that's where we can exchange ideas. It's great to exchange ideas in posts versus emails, because let's say a new individual joins the marketing team. So easy for them to be made a member of the team and kind of look through that history, rather than us all having to go back to our emails and forward them anything, that might be of value now that they're part of the marketing department. We have a place to store our files, and the files that are stored here, they actually, we can be working on files at the same time. There's this co-authoring capability. There's automated version control, so you don't need to save something as version 1, the October version, V2, and then people are like, of these 3 documents, what am I working with? You work with the one file, and Teams will actually manage that behind the scenes for you. And if at any point you're like, we need to roll it back, we can do that. There is, you can have a team calendar. You can have a team notebook, and then you can have any other resources at the tip of your finger, depending on what the teams need. They could be other websites, other apps, and that could be a Microsoft app or a third-party app, other SharePoint resources. If you have a structured intranet, you need kind of that quick access to places you might frequent. And here at Marquee, we like to add project plans to our teams. So let's take a look. So I'm going to actually try and switch my screens around. Okay. So I'm in Teams, and here's that app nav bar. And I mentioned to you that one thing that I like to have easy access to is Planner. And it's not listed here right now. So there are two ways you can do it. You can either go here to add the app, and you could search for it. But because I have added this before, it's here. So either whether you searched or maybe you've already done this, it just wasn't pinned, you'll be able to find, hey, look, if you use Excel all the time, pin it to your Teams. If you use Word a lot, pin it to your Teams. If you're navigating Dynamics, pin it to your Teams. But in this case, like I said, I like to use Planner. So there, now I can see everything. Here are my flagged emails, something I'm notorious for, my day, whatnot. The other one that I suggested is that OneDrive. Now, Noah, did you just notice that? My planner disappeared because I forgot to take a step. I'm going to go to here and add my planner again. And if I right mouse click on it, I'm going to pin it. Now it should stay there and not go away. So here's that OneDrive app that I said is fantastic. The one thing I will share with you, it's a bad habit I have. Often when I'm using the OneDrive app, I want to search, but this is a team search. I don't really have the ability to do a search when I'm visiting the OneDrive app in Teams. If I was doing it via the browser, I would. But I mean, come on, here's a list of all my recent files that I've been working with. If I knew it was a PowerPoint, I can filter things. If I knew it was something I was working with Aaron on, I can further filter it down. I can access that little space in the cloud for me, right? My files that have been shared with me. You'll see, there are ways that you can save your favorites in Teams and SharePoint. I would see them here. So again, really nice to have that OneDrive app just a click away. But let's actually get into a team. And I'm going to share this with you because this was something else that I came across. For the longest time, I had both the ability to go to my chats versus my teams. And then one day it got all merged together. And I didn't like that. I didn't like on the left having this long list that included both my teams and my chats. So if that's the case with you, this ellipse menu here will get you to your settings and see the chats and channels. This is where you control that. Mine had been set to combined. I did not like it. So I said, please separate. And it asked me why, because it's too cluttered. So anyway, if you're having that issue, there's your little tip of the day. All right, but so here we are in Teams. I've tried to clean this up a bit. Probably you have your favorites, and then you have the teams and channels. You can actually add additional sections. So you'll see here, if I were to say I'd like to, and actually you can only do this for a channel, but if I wanted to show this in, so I could show it in my favorites. I could show it in a section I created called active clients. I could show it in marquee, or I can add a new section. So that might help you organize because it does start to get crazy. Another thing you can do is if this list of teams, if you're in a lot of teams, which I am, and I don't need to see them all. Again, when I was on more options, hide all channels. It just hides them. If you want to get them back, when you go to your teams and channels, we can go here, your teams and channels, and you'll quickly be able to see what's hidden, right? See the little, I can't see it, and then you can restore it from there. But I'm going to move this to the top. And this is the team we'll play in. But as far as adding a team, again, you would go from teams and channels, your ellipse menu, oops, I'm sorry, your teams and channels. And up here to the right, you can create a team. You'll give your team a name, a description. You'll pick the type. If you want it to be that public type, anyone's welcome to check out my team. Or if you want it to be private, name that first channel. I think I've gotten the habit of calling it Team Central. And then you would go ahead and create. You would be asked also if you wanted to add anyone specifically as members. If you pick private, you can always add members later by, so this is my team. I click here and I should have, actually, no, this is the channel. I'm sorry. Where is my WorkWise PMO? If I go here and I could either go right to add member, or I can go into manage team and do the same. And then we can start typing in the names of people that we would like to be members of our private team. Any questions about kind of that general navigation or creation of teams? Okay. So now I'm in this team. Right now I have one channel. I called it Team Central. I pinned this channel or saved it to a section so I had easy access to it. So this one channel. And the resources are an ability to chat in the context of this team. So again, as people join the team and leave the team, they will be able to see the history here. Okay. I mentioned I have the ability to share emails to a team. So I'm actually going to open my email real quick. I'm going to find something I sent to Aaron earlier today. When you're in an Outlook message, you have one of those same type of ellipse menu, and one of the options is to share to teams. So you can find the name of your channel. You can add a prefacing message. And I'm going to hit share. And it says the email is on its way to Teams. Fantastic. So hopefully we'll set up. There it is. So now, as part of this post, I have the email. And actually in our files, eventually, if there was an attachment, it would get moved to here as well. This particular email didn't have an attachment. So again, if you're receiving emails with attachments that are, of value to the team, send them on over, right? Another thing we can do in the context of these posts is to, to mention people to bring their attention to things. So let's see, I've lost my mouse. So there, what I can do is, now I'm not sure because I don't know how I set this up, but I should be able to mention the name of team members. And what that'll do is they'll get their activity is going to change. Hey, someone's calling me out. They will also get an email that, hey, someone has, something has requested something of you in Teams. And if that's too much for you, there are ways to control in what places you're receiving those type of notifications. So that's not working at the moment for me, just probably because I haven't set up my team all the way. Another thing I can do is let's start a new post. Remember I said that we want to, if we're sharing files in chat, we use that upload feature. If we actually attach something to a post, I'm sorry, that's a link. Where's my paper clip? Yeah. When you go to attach a file to a post, it's going to encourage you. Hey, are you wanting to direct them to a file that's already in Teams? Do you want to upload something you have on your desktop, which means it'll then actually end up in your files? So instead of it ending up in your OneDrive, it's going to end up in this collective space that's being used by your team. How do we go about creating new files? We could actually just go to our files and use the upload feature. We can drag and drop between, your desktop and here. And if you want to create something brand new, the new button lets us create a Word document right from here. And now it's there for everyone to use. You'll notice, depending on how your organization is set up, what's really nice about Office 365 is if you're using a laptop or a PC that doesn't have the Office desktop apps, you can still create applications, edit applications, read, any of these Office type of files with the web app. I could certainly switch to opening this in desktop, but this is nice, right? I've started, actually, you know what? I don't like the name of this file, so I'm going to call it, can't see if I spelled that right because my glasses are not working. But now that's here. And I should see that file change in name. Notes. I am a OneNote fanatic, and they make it really easy to create and associate a notebook with your team. I use it for meeting minutes, things of that nature. And then, as I said, you can add anything else, oops, that you want. So you may have seen, so I'm in Team Central. I have a simple plan. This is, so what I did was I created a planner plan. I added it as a team resource because I want my team to use this to organize the project we're working on. Maybe they're new to this. So what I'm actually going to do, if I can find you may have seen briefly, I had this screen pulled up getting started with Planner. I'm actually going to copy this URL and I'm going to go back to my team. And this is where any resource that you need quick and easy access to specific to this team, we can add a tab and we can add whatever we want. Remember in that concept, I said sales might want a quick link to the product guides in the SharePoint site. In this case, I just want to pin, a link to a website. So call this, I don't know if it lets dashes, put that here. I can make an announcement that I added this resource for the team. And now that's a quick and easy access for them to get to that resource from the context of the team. Any questions? We often get asked, like when people are doing things in they have like a routine setup, like, hey, every time we plan a marketing campaign in files, I actually, we do actually use a couple subfolders. I always add a link to some specific resource. You do have the ability to use a team as a template. So when I go to, I forget, where do I do this? Just did this the other way. There is a way that you can copy an existing team and replicate it. So we do have some organizations that will structure a team, leave it empty, and then just copy that for your for kind of repeated use.
Allison, we do have a question in the chat.
Okay.
Angela asked, can your recorded Teams meetings automatically be copied, written on your OneNote?
Haha. So embedded in your OneNote, the recording?
Yes,
That
ma'am.
is, yeah, so that,
Instead of you taking time to do those meeting notes, is there a way you can link your OneNote to probably have that meeting note reading while you concentrate on your meeting?
yes. So that's actually not in the context of Teams, but I believe in OneNote, and I'm trying to get to my notebook, and I'm more overall, I prefer working with things in the desktop. That's just me. There is a way, I know that you can transcribe. So, if you're not using headphones, you could certainly transcribe the meeting that way. But even in Teams itself, Aaron, you actually are probably more familiar with this at this point, or maybe even some of the other team members are. Within Teams itself, when we are facilitating a meeting, so long as your administrative, and I'm trying to get the window open, as long as your administrative staff has set things correctly, the meeting itself, when you have you can transcribe.
That's
Then
right.
you would, I'm sorry?
That's right.
Yeah, so when you launch your meeting, you have the ability to record and or transcribe. And then that summary could get added to the team, or you also get a link. So certainly you could put that link in your posts. So there are a couple different ways to approach it, and I'd be happy to summarize them in a more organized fashion after this presentation. And I can include in there also some of the OneNote options if you'd like. And speaking of meetings, which is something we're obviously doing it here in Teams, there are ways to make them a bit more memorable. There's a virtual background mode called Together, which would show all of us as if we're in one common space. There is whiteboarding capability. So if you're having a meeting and you want people to start just throwing ideas out there, or maybe, again, marketing has an image and people are circling things that they think should be adjusted or moved, we could do that collectively as part of our meeting using a whiteboard. I don't do this, and I should, but like, as I mentioned, I'm struggling to see my presentation, the screen I'm showing. There is a share PowerPoint live option, which better manages that. You saw us facilitate a poll today. And then even if I wanted all of you to kind of break out into separate rooms and come back with your idea for a private team, we can use breakout rooms as part of our Teams meetings. So that is what I had hoped to cover today, and I appreciate your attention.